At IHM VCU, we've always been here for you. You are and always will be our top priority. We care about your financial health, and we are here. IHM VCU is a proud supporter of WQPT.
The future. That's where our minds are at Western Illinois University Quad Cities. We are innovators, searching for something new outside of the textbooks. Dog-loving, leadership-driven, world-changing. Whether you choose to study on campus or online, your future is designed on your terms. Start your future at wiu.edu/QC.
Public Affairs programming on WQPT is brought to you by the Singh Group at Merrill, serving the wealth management needs of clients in the region for over 35 years.
From poverty to mental health, education to jobs, a snapshot of our community's needs and pinpointing the best way to meet them in the cities. The United Way talked to about 1,000 people in the cities to find out the greatest needs and the best way to get resources to meet them. The 2024 Community Insights Signals and Trends Report is an eye-opener. The statistics paint a picture of need, particularly in the areas of education, poverty, and mental health. And we talked with the president and CEO of United Way Quad Cities, Rene Gellerman, who is tasked with taking those statistics and turning them into action. So the United Way conducted its Community Insights, Signals, and Trends report, talking to a little more than 1,000 different people in the Quad City area. How important is this report? Let's start how important it is to the community and then how it's important to the United Way.
Well, the report really does a scan of the Quad Cities and looks for patterns of challenges and opportunities. And it's important to the community because then we can prioritize what are the challenges and opportunities and we can address them. And it's the same sort of priority for United Way. We use it to prioritize where we invest our resources of time, talent, people, relationships, and partnerships.
And this has been going on for a while because the United Way really redesigned its focus to try to target specific rather than throwing money, I hate to say it, but it means over a greater group of people. So tell me what the focus is right now, because it seems to me that it's education, jobs, and health.
Education, income, and health are our three main pillars of focus. And you're right, about 10 years ago, United Way did a pivot from being the community chest where we collected donor dollars and then granted them out to basically the same organizations every year. And now it is a competitive process, and we really have created a regional strategy, and we do that based on information we get from this sort of study. And then we invite nonprofits to apply, to partner with us to move the needle in outcomes in the areas of advancing greater education, improving financial stability, and improving the access to health care.
And let's start with education as one of the focuses. And I'll even go before that, is early childhood support. It is such a huge concern, but also are the needs of the Quad Cities families being met in that area?
You know, it's a challenge across the country. And what I love about this time in society is we're talking a lot more about childcare, early education, and its importance. People are better understanding that 90% of a child's brain is developed by the time they're 5. So that critical 0 to 5 is extremely important. And there is a lot of demand for childcare that we don't have the space. There are more parents that need childcare. They can't get into the workforce because we don't have enough slots. And we need more pre-K kind of training. In fact, the study revealed that about 1,000 of our kindergartners this year started kindergarten without any pre-kindergarten professional training.
Which, when I was a kid, is exactly the way you did start school, but that's just not the case anymore.
Yeah.
And it puts your child at a disadvantage.
It does, and it sets them up behind, because when a child isn't ready for kindergarten, they're twice as likely not to be reading by 3rd grade. And once a child gets behind, it's really hard to catch up, even at that early age.
Explain to me why that 3rd grade milestone is so important.
It's critical. It's the most critical milestone that we watch in the area of education, because it's the biggest indicator of life success. So kids need to learn to read up till 3rd grade, and then at 3rd grade the education switches and they're actually reading to learn, and it's critical. And if they aren't reading proficiently by that period of time, 75% of those students will never read proficiently until high school.
So what is being done to improve literacy in the Quad Cities?
It's a primary focus of ours. We have a lot of nonprofit partners that we partner with to provide interventions. Volunteers are going into the schools. Right now we're recruiting volunteers. About 250 volunteers are needed to read with a student once a week for 30 minutes. We work with an education council, which includes all the superintendents in Scott and Rock Island County. We're talking about this and really trying to identify how do we bring the literacy to the forefront as a primary priority for our community, and what are we doing to ensure that our kids are getting what they need supported to be able to read by 3rd grade. There's lots of contributing factors to that.
Well, and one of the biggest contributing factors is the family itself. I
Yes.
mean, the schools can do only so much.
That's right, that's right. You know, you think about the weight of a child, about 1 in 6 kids in the Quad Cities are living in poverty. And the weight of poverty on a child to face adult problems, you know, whether it's emotional issues from home, housing instability, whatever those are, it's almost impossible to focus in school. So we really do need to address the family situation so that kids are ready to learn in school. And a lot of our partners are working on that right now.
Well, as part of the literacy campaign, you've got a book out? Tell me about this.
Well, yes, I did. I'm excited to release my first children's book. It's called The Adventures of Kids United, The Glass Bridge. The inspiration came from my own kids, and it also came from, I was one of those volunteers. I volunteer and I read in the classroom, and listening to these kids' stories, it made me want to do more. There's a couple things. I want kids to understand that they are not defined by their past or their current situation, that they can create their own story, their own path forward. So that's what the story is really about. It's about empowering kids to understand that they can use their own unique talents to create the future that they want. And then on the other side of it is that even kids can have an impact in their community. I was trying to inspire some empathy and teamwork and neighbors helping neighbors in the story. And so that's what I hope happens with the book. And I've written the book, and I'm going to contribute all the proceeds from the sale of it to United Way to continue investing and accelerating interventions and support to improve 3rd grade reading in the Quad Cities.
As long as I stick with education a little bit longer, I thought another, and mind you, I want to know what you got from the report, but another thing that was eye-opening to me in regards to the report was expectations of children. And I was really surprised how many parents want their kids to go to college, the 4-year college. I mean, it's so much higher than community colleges or the trades, though those are significant. And we've seen people kind of shift away from colleges, and so I was surprised to see that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think there's still this stereotype that everyone has to have a 4-year degree. And there's lots of organizations, people working to really readdress that narrative. In fact, we are in elementary schools right now, and we bring in the trades and all other different careers that really give kids exposure at an earlier age. We also have had family nights at schools that we help with, that we activate our business community in to talk to parents about these different jobs and so forth. I think the key is not necessarily college or trades, or what does the child want to do? Where are their passions?
Potentials.
And how do we match that with high impact jobs? How do we match it with the jobs that will pay a living wage and the jobs that are available in our community?
Well, and the report also talks about jobs, of course, and we look at the poverty level right now, and it's still 34% black, 19% Hispanic, 10% white. There's a real problem with haves and have-nots still in society.
Yeah, and you know, we really address that by making sure that we help every person. And we do look at that. We target funds to make sure that we're giving the opportunity that the kinds of opportunities that those need them, the right opportunities to be able to really develop their own potential and create their own life.
Well, we talked about two of the three pillars, as you
Yeah.
called. I mean, we talked about education, we talked about jobs and poverty, and the other, of course, is health.
Yes.
And some real concerns as far as people being able to afford health. What did you think that was more eye-opening in the report regarding health?
I think health is really the mental health piece.
That's what was really, that stood out for me as well.
Yeah. You know, we've seen it in the news across the board that mental health is an issue, and it's not just children, it's adults. There's a lot of, I think social isolation from the pandemic really contributed to that, and kids are still having a hard time being able to normalize behavior in schools, and adults have been affected too. But I think the benefit has been that there is a lot, it's much more normalized to talk about mental health challenges in the community, and including at high school level and younger. And so I think that's the positive. But there was a significant increase in the number of people that reported feeling unhappy or sad.
Well, let me talk about those numbers, because it said 12% adults, 12% reported poor mental health in 2015, which is a large number. It's now 23%.
Yes.
8% of children admitted to having poor mental health back in 2015. It's now 17%. What is driving this? These are serious numbers that should be a concern.
It is a concern, and they are serious, and they're complicated, and there isn't one single answer. We know that cell phones, you know, the access to the internet, the online bullying, those kind of things contribute to it, the pandemic, and I have to believe that divisiveness in society contributes to it too. And while we can put more resources towards that, and we also then on the other side have a shortages of practitioners to be able to address some of those concerns. So it is a complicated issue, and the good news is there's more people than ever talking about it and looking for opportunities to really find efficient, effective treatments.
When we've done surveys about health from the Community Foundation and others, the other big area, of course, has always been maternal health and early childhood health.
Yes.
Is that still a concern, and how can the United Way help out in that area?
It is a concern. That prenatal care is critical. It really does set the child up for a healthy toddler early years in life. And we partner with different organizations to make sure that we're supporting those parents in those spaces, providing not only the access to the care, but also the aftercare of when you have a child, and make sure that they're healthy, that we're also helping the parent learn how to be their child's first and best teacher, so that they can take everyday moments and turn them into learning opportunities. So it's everything from the actual physical health to mental health to social emotional development.
So now that this report is out there, and you can crunch numbers and interpret them any way you want,
Right.
I guess, in so many different ways, what do you see as the United Way's mission?
Well, we're going to focus on those things that align with our assets and resources. So we looked at the priorities. We're going to continue focusing in education. Youth opportunity is a critical space that we think we can do more in. We have been incubating a concept of bringing services to the schools instead of having the families having to navigate all the different resources in the community, because we've got some extraordinary resources with nonprofits and other partners. And so we're really helping to activate those in the school. We'll be doing more of that. In the area of income, we're going to be looking at job training, upskilling, making sure that people are trained and ready to have a high impact job, and we'll focus on that mental health. So we're really tightening our focus a little bit, and we're going to be looking at how do we collaborate more. Well, one of the things that we learned from the report, Jim, was that our donors expect more collaboration to find efficiencies and effectiveness, and how do we stretch our money further. And I think there's a lot of opportunity to do more of that with the great people and organizations working in the Quad Cities.
But I think I feel a little bad because I was pointing out everything that's wrong, and where people have concerns, or where, you know, statistics show that we may be lagging. What were the positives that you took away from this? What were the trends that give you optimism?
Number one, I think engagement. The fact that we had 1,000 people participate in this survey on top of all the data and research, you got to read between the lines there. That means people really care. We see that people really care. We have over 10,000 people who contribute to United Way every year. So I think we look at this as we've got great people who are very generous. We have problems. Yes, we have problems. We have problems we can solve. Literacy is a solvable problem. And so how do we really lay into that and lean into it collaboratively to address it? And the other thing is that we've seen improvements in, from the pandemic to now, academic achievement, there have been improvements in that area. And it really has had all the school districts and the teachers working together in a different way.
Well, and also taking it to that next level. I mean, we were talking about preschool and third graders, but that chronic absenteeism, which is still a huge problem
Yes.
post-pandemic.
Yes, it is. It is a real problem. And I think because we've grown so much in all this trust and relationships between the school districts, this fall we're going to actually be doing an initiative. It's called Student Voices, and we're inviting every middle school student. We're going to go into the schools. We're partnering actually with Western Illinois University to go into the schools and do small group conversations with middle school students and ask them what would they do to make their school ideal. What's keeping them from fully engaging in schools? What are their dreams? And we want to empower them to give voice to how they can improve attendance and their thoughts about school and really get their insight on what we can do to help them be better engaged.
Well, in the past, as you well know, the United Way would have its fundraising campaign in the fall. You'd always see the red thermometer and how far the money was going.
Yeah.
Tell me about the campaign this year and what the real goal is.
Yeah, we have a goal of raising about $6.5 million through our traditional efforts. So when I say traditional, United Way is known to be your workplace campaign, and we still depend on that. We try and make it easy and fun and relevant and significant to donors. So we have that goal, and that's really critical because that is what the resources that we use to help fund our 51 organizations that are all working together to improve education, income, and health. We have a second campaign that we're running, and it's really to accelerate efforts to improve the learning loss from the pandemic. So we have another $5 million campaign going on. So this year we have a goal of about 8.5 total that we'll raise this year to help our community close those gaps in those education, income, and health areas.
Well, yeah, as you know, fundraising, I'm telling you something, that fundraising is so difficult. I mean, is that a realistic goal?
It is a realistic goal. We're projecting it. And we just actually had a fundraising event a few months ago, and we brought out community leaders and donors of all ages. I think that's the other good news we learned from the report, and what we're seeing is we're seeing younger people engage in a different way, much more engaged. And we had about 100 young people at this event. So when I say young, I mean under 40 involved. And we had people of all different ages, but in one night, it wasn't a auction fundraising. It was just talking about the stories and the opportunity and potential we have. We raised $1.3 million that night. So we're on track to raise 8.5 by July of next year.
Because it is difficult to keep asking people for money.
It is very difficult. Yes.
And after the pandemic, I mean, I think we learned two things. First off, that there are outpouring of help when it's really needed, and that people are willing to give even their time and their expertise. Is that something that might be waning since the pandemic?
We are seeing across the country. I just read the Giving USA report. Giving has gone down in the last 2 to 3 years. There's sort of the steady trend of giving going down. We have to get more creative, and we really need to meet donors where they are, how they want to be engaged, and that's even shifting. There was a generation, maybe my generation, where it was just the right thing to do, and my kids' generation, they want to see their impact. They want to be closer to it, and they want to be a part of making that decision and seeing their impact. And so I think, nonprofits are really learning that, and if we get better at that, we have to adjust and be flexible and nimble, and I'm optimistic. We have a generous community, and if they know there's a good cause, people want to help their neighbors.
Well, and I think also it's key when you have something like the Community Insights, Signals, and Trends Report, I'm trying to remember what it's called, that it's just not in a binder picking up dust on somebody's bookshelf. I mean, how important is it to tackle the problems that are illustrated in the most cost-effective way?
It's critically important, and I think that's an asset of United Way, that we have 51 nonprofits that we work with in an aligned vision. And the money that we raise, the majority of it goes to those 51 organizations to really help move the needle in those areas. And that report validates that for those organizations, for their boards, and for their donors. And so I think the report is a great asset that makes it more effective and efficient for nonprofits as well. And the report really can direct how we operate. And we send it out to our public sector partners too, so that they could help align their resources in the areas that work best for them too.
And you work with these organizations on a daily basis, and you see these people who are doing the groundwork that they're doing and the good work that they're doing as well. Is there a certain optimism that things are getting better and that problems are being tackled?
I think, there's peaks and valleys to it, to be reality. Some days are harder than others. When you have a day when you get up and read the paper that there is violence happening, or even the storms on the East Coast, for people in our work, that every day we're helping people live a better life, that can be more difficult, and so it's harder to see the silver lining. But there are days and weeks and months of momentum, and that's what United Way tries to do with our nonprofit partners, to make sure that we shine a light on the progress when they're stuck in the forest. And we can shine that light on the progress, because it takes one day at a time.
And finally, I mean, it's more than money during this campaign.
Yeah.
The United Way is always very active in trying to raise money for its partners, but also the volunteerism. That continues right now as well.
Yes, we're looking for reading volunteers. It takes 30 minutes once a week to read with a child. We know it works. We saw a 15% increase where volunteers were at a school in 1 year. So yes, we need volunteers, 30 minutes a week, and you can buddy up with someone.
Our thanks to the President and CEO of the United Way Quad Cities, Rene Gellerman. Mo Carter has been described as a multifaceted musician, known for her bold, soulful voice and charismatic stage presence. And she brought both to the stage at the Black Box Theater in Moline to perform one of her originals. So here's Mo Carter with Crumbled.
Your brilliance in every way, a constant reminder, as it's always on display, thinking if I try harder, I could be simply better, but that's not the case. Just like you knew I would, and I crumbled so beautifully, and I crumbled into the sea, and I crumbled. So easy, oh, every time, not even trying, create a beautiful rhyme. If I had a sliver of what you possess, would it be easier for me to confess that I crumble? Oh, just like you knew I would, and I crumble. Oh, so silently,
Mo Carter with Crumbled, performed at Moline's Black Box Theater. On the air, on the radio, on the web, on your mobile device, and streaming on your computer, thanks for taking some time to join us as we talk about the issues on the cities.
At IHM VCU, we've always been here for you. You are and always will be our top priority. We care about your financial health, and we are here. IHM VCU is a proud supporter of WQPT.
The future, that's where our minds are at Western Illinois University Quad Cities. We are innovators, searching for something new outside of the textbooks. Dog-loving, leadership-driven, world-changing. Whether you choose to study on campus or online, your future is designed on your terms. Start your future at wiu.edu/QC.
Public Affairs programming on WQPT is brought to you by the Sing Group at Merrill, serving the wealth management needs of clients in the region for over 35 years.